was just going to be a big spectacle. I don't really expect a story until Battle World where they kind of piece it together. It's just going to be like, we need to kill off a lot of these worlds and then pull a lot of the heroes into Battle World and then set up the movie and then kind of set up your new status quo. So I'm not too shocked by what I heard and I would kind of believe it. But like, my question, I suppose, to you, Kevin, to you, Keen, if that's all Doomsday was, would you be like disappointed with that?
I I quite liked Phase 4 and 5 even though there were weaknesses to it. I I'll put it this way, if it ends up being like a reset with like cast resets and all that kind of stuff, I would just bail on the MCU because the reason I stopped reading comics was I was really into the New Avengers and the Young Avengers and all that. And then the original Civil War happened and all their plot lines were basically abruptly stopped without consultation to the writers in a lot of cases. And I know you like don't mind it because you're like more of a DC person, but like
Mhm.
once the specter of everything can get reset at any moment is put on the table, I think you've basically given up any dramatic tension at all.
Well,
Because why you
that's the
no,
criticism
hang on,
with
just hear me out, just
stage.
hear me out, because
Yeah.
like, let's say they reset it, and let's say there's, like, a new young Captain America, and there's a new this and a new that. Why should I get invested in something that can tangibly get wiped at any point from now on as something that exists as part of the MCU's lore? Like, why doesn't that bother you?
Well, isn't that the criticism of this multiverse thing? Full stop. Where it's like death doesn't really matter. Like Gamora has
That's
died like
true.
6 times. Loki has died even more, and it's just like they just keep coming back. So it is kind of. I hear what you're saying, and it is unfortunate that they've done this. But by opening the door to the multiverse, that's what happens. Like that's why DC did it in the first place because they had all these multiverses among multiverses, and it just becomes this convoluted mess where you're going to have to wipe it and start again. Um, Now, obviously, comics are different than movies. Like, comic characters don't age, and contracts don't really matter in the same way as like a film star, like a flesh and blood person does. But I look, it makes sense. They box themselves in a corner here, and they kind of have to have a new start and reboot um progress. But it's more so like they have all these continuities that they have to square the circle going forward. Like X-Men, everybody likes the X-Men. Everybody wants to see them come back before they introduce a new crowd. I'm not too upset about it because it is kind of like our MCU was built out of scraps, not to use the pun. And now that Disney kind of owns all of it, barring Spider-Man, they can make something a bit more cohesive. So I'm okay with it. Now, here's the thing. If they did it every 10, 15, 20 years, yeah, that would be a bit annoying. But at the same time, you kind of have to. Like, the characters, like, if you don't, you end up with Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine literally until he's 90.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the multiversal type stuff as long as like the characters are still the characters. Like Loki in the Loki show, even though like technically he died in what they called Avengers Infinity War, is still functionally Loki. It's I don't know. My theory is that they're gonna do a what's it called, Force Awakens, and they're gonna bring back Chris Evans and all of them who die as the mentors so that like all the young Avengers and the new ones can basically seize the public's imagination and all that. Because the if there is a big failing in the MCU 4 and 5, it's that I don't think that beyond the diehard Marvel people, a character has really grabbed people's imaginations. And even for those who have made an impression, they haven't been there consistently enough to hold people's attention. Like, I'm a big advocate of, like, Kate Bishop and, like, Yelena and, like, all these kind of characters. But you could watch all the stuff that's come out with them in the last 3 or 4 years in 4, 5 hours, even though there's been, like, probably like 100 hours of like MCU stuff in the last few years. So I don't know. I just hope it isn't some sort of like magical reset or like something that resets the whole table because what you could end up doing is losing the audience who have stuck with you through the kind of low ed period and then also not bring in a new audience as well. It's a pretty risky gamble for a supposedly safe bet.
Yeah, see, I don't think they'll be like, here's Tony Stark again. He's played by Robert Downey Jr. Here's Chris Evans. No, what I do think they are going to do is they are going to do a reset, but it's going to be with a bunch of recasts and different Avengers. Like there are some cool stuff that they could do, but then again, we don't really know. We won't know until it's obviously out or until we start getting more trailers. But they still had to square this circle, and I thought,
Oh,
no, I'll be honest with you, I thought they would have done it sooner. I thought like that was the whole point of the multiverse saga, where you're crushing universes that don't exist anymore and bringing characters in. Like, for example, the end of Deadpool and Wolverine. That doesn't actually tie anything up because that universe still exists and they're not in the MCU. So I think what we have here is something that should have been done as part of Phase 4 or Phase 5. And it just messily has to be done in this movie. But then afterwards, they obviously want the franchise to continue. So they probably will have someone who's a lot younger than Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man. And it probably won't even be that Iron Man. It could be like the Sinister Iron Man or Superior Iron Man or whatever. Um,
Well, it's supposed to be
uh,
Kang. It's supposed to be the young Iron Man in the Avengers, but they're probably not going to do that now.
Yeah, they probably won't do that now as well. That's what I'm saying. Like they have options. I don't think it will be a clean reset. And they're like, here, we're going to make 7 movies with Chris Evans. Is like, no, they're just going to give a proper continuity refresh with new characters, which they can build on for
it's
10
just
years.
dawned on me that we kind of do have this played out on a micro scale with the Fox X-Men universe.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
they can
yeah.
and here's the thing, like that's they have like a trial run, and ostensibly they could use that to learn, because obviously that was a train wreck. The Dark Phoenix was awful.
They need to stop
But
trying to make Dark Phoenix. It just never works. It's a kiss
at
of
least
death.
get to space before you do.
Yes, it's a kiss of death every time they
But
try.
also, like that's no, like the Fox X-Men stuff. Like they did try to reboot its entire franchise and recast and go younger and try that. And I mean, it didn't work for a lot of reasons. Most every reason, in fact, it was bad in most every way. But um, but like it kind of is the soft try for if they are going to try and like reboot using the same characters. They have the mistakes there literally on paper. They own them now.
Oh, more than that, the X-Men are going to be in this film.
Yeah, the old X-Men.
Yeah,
not the ones that they tried to redo. The old ones.
You see,
yeah.
and
I
it's
don't
funny,
know how much money they gave to Alan Cumming to come back after all
see,
these years, but it must have been a lot.
it's funny, Kev, that you bring it up because like they had one of the best X-Men of the recast um time period in it in Evan Peters, and they threw it away as a joke, and it's like this shouldn't be a joke. You fumbled it completely, and that's my concern. It's like they don't understand. It's like, listen, you have your opportunity now to pass the torch, and if you mess it up, that's it. You don't get a do-over. And by bringing Chris Evans back and by bringing Robert Downey Jr. back and everyone else, it's like you only get this one play. Either it will be fantastic and everyone will be like, okay, we're back again. This kind of makes sense because you have to give something people to hold on to at the end of Battleworld. You can't just be like, and we're done, because that's what happened with Endgame. It was like this big, awesome, and Endgame does actually have an awful lot of problems, really, when you break it down. But when Infinity Wars and Endgame was done, you're like, okay, cool, now what? And then you don't go anywhere. And that's kind of what Battle World has to do, or Secret Invasion has to do. Not Secret Invasion, Secret War. That's what that has to do when it comes out. It has to not only be a satisfying end, but also, and reset the new status quo. But then it also has to have stories within it to make you want to go back and watch it again. Because you're not going to get like I will say, Kev, I love that analogy with the X-Men universe, but the difference here is you don't get a do-over with the MCU. Like this really is it for them. It's either going to work or it's not, and that's wild. But I did hear there was a comment that came out that Feige didn't want the MCU to end up like Lucasfilm, which was a nice little job because Star Wars is kind of a dead franchise. Like even we were talking